Hello, Alex Lafkus here. I'm going to tie a fly today. One of the terrestrials I like running this time of year. I'm going to call it the BBC. It is a knockoff Chubby. Um, I got the River Road Creations cutter stuff. I'll give you a little better look at it, but I will leave the material list in the description. But I'll try to dig out a fly here. This is the shape that those bodies will be in. I like it because it's got some extra pinch points, which is a little easier to tie on. So we're going to need that. I add some hackle to mine, a little bit of whatever for the body. No big deal. Just I'm using the pearl with the black, 3mm foam, the cutters. So on this one, I'm going to use a Tiemco 108 for the smallest size of the cutter they make. And then typically when I go to the next size, I use a smaller hook. It's a number 10, but it's a Daiichi 2117, which is a 2x long Atlantic salmon dry fly hook. And it's a little bigger, but you get that bigger hook gap on both of them. So I'm a big fan of that. We're going to use, so on the smaller one, I like to use extra small rubber legs because they won't twist lighter tippet. On the bigger one, I'll use whatever, the mediums or whatever size rubber leg you want, because I'm usually throwing those on heavier tippet. But on the small ones, I like to run the extra small round rubber legs because I believe it's 4x you can throw without it getting twisted. But I put enough, but I run it on 3 a lot, never have an issue. 4, and I don't believe it twists the 4 either. Obviously I own a bunch of the River Road Creations cutter stuff. I bought these years ago. Frankly, I don't even know if they're still in business, but they make sweet stuff and their cutters stay sharp. I've been using these for a long time and I haven't had any issues. So I'm going to walk you through this. There's a great little search and dry fly to run, time in multiple sizes, multiple colors. I'd go with like black and pearl body, black and purple bodies, peach, olive and yellow, kind of all your staples. I like the yellow with a gold body, sometimes some orange rubber legs on those. The black and pearl with the orange rubber legs or white rubber legs. I'm going to use extra small white today. I'm going to add a little glue, whatever. I'm going to take you through it all. It's real simple, but it will float better. I've got my Grizzly saddle out here, some fancy Whiting Farm stuff that I happen to have just tons of in backstock from my production fly tying days. So I'm going to use that. I usually like the hook barbs to be a little, like about the same size as the hook gap, maybe a little smaller, just because, so it just kind of sinks it, but it'll keep it up a little bit better. That'll also help you twitch it a little bit more without it going down and stuff. Basic fly, I'm going to tie it up. It's a good one. It's just kind of basically the terrestrial I fish most of the summer. I just mix up colors on it. Yeah, so we'll get started now. Thanks. So I'm going to start with the Tiemco 100 number 8. Once again, like I said, I like this for the smallest size on these cutters. I'll show you the difference too. This is that Daiichi 2117 number 10 versus the number 8 Tiemco 100. So it's a 2x long, but you can see you still get that nice hook gap on both of these, which I like to have. A lot of people tie these on like 2x long standard dry fly hooks. I don't know. I like to have a little bit bigger hook gap when possible. So this is a real simple fly though, and don't kill yourself tying these. Because it's a dry fly and they're going to end up in the trees regardless. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. First thing, you're just going to wrap some thread, come back a ways. I always go a little further back just to give myself a little more sparkle for the body. And you're going to want to keep that little flash out or whatever you're using for the body because you're going to be going to it a lot. Now, so like you can see with this, the beaver tail kind of cut out. See that weird shape? I don't know how well you can see it, but it's there. It's got some pinch points. Here's the one I'm going to be using with this black body. It's got nice little pinch points to put the thread, which I kind of like. Oh, none of it really matters. It just happens to be the cutout I'm using a lot. So then I can take it and I usually just measure it up, you know, and say, well, I want my head to be just back, and then right there I'll start wrapping it in. Then what I do usually with this foam is I don't want to break it, so I usually give it a bunch of loose wraps, you know, to start, and then start tightening it down. So I don't, you know, just amputate the whole deal. Then when I go in, next thing I'm going to do is go in and tie in. This happens to be Hi-Vis I'm using because this is one of my 8 million packs of Hi-Vis left over from the production tying days that I'm trying to run out of. There's an EP product that I have misplaced. I don't know where they are, but it was like a floating product that was similar to this that I liked a little more, but I can't find it right now, so whatever. I'm trying to run out of this. But you can notice I kind of fold that Hi-Vis over on the body just so it'll stay locked in there longer. Trim that off just kind of off the back of the hook. Next thing I do is I got my Loctite gel control, and I'm going to give this just a little shot. Just, you know, kind of right where the foam and the thread meet. Not much, just enough to, you know, try to keep it there a little longer. And then these are the extra fine rubber legs. So I peel off 2 at a time, you know, just say, I will say you want to try to keep those out of the super glue. So if you give it a little bit more time to dry, that's definitely not an issue. Whatever, I don't really care. Too many years of production tying. I usually lay them in on the sides first, kind of pinch them. These are definitely longer than I need them at first, but that's fine because I'm going to end up just trimming them off at the end when I'm done. And they might kind of splay a little weird, but I'm going to use that body material to kind of push them the angle I want. You know, I'm really just tying it for a little wiggle on there. Now I'm going to dig out my grizzly saddle, whatever. I like adding hackle to this, and it's something I do on most of my drives, whether it's a palmered hex or a whatever. I'm fishing from a boat a lot, and I don't like taking the time to have to refloat them all the time, so I have a tendency to so I have a tendency to put as much hackle on everything that I can. Every fly I tie gets a lot of hackle. And I'm going to get the ice wing fiber, whatever I'm using today. Yeah, it's ice wing fiber for dubbing. I don't know, whatever. It just happens to be what I've got laying around. Just because I want it with this little bit of pearl. I kind of go a little thick on this because all of a sudden now you're wrapping over all those wraps you put on the foam. So you go through it a little quicker than you would. And then I'm going to kind of wedge that there. Then I get that kind of angle a little bit better. Then I'm going to take my hackle. I'm going to try to give it, you know, maybe 4 wraps in there. I'll push it right to the edge, position those legs where I want them. I just kind of tie it off there. I usually like to give it a couple of wraps. Tends to make it a little bit, you know, a little bit more durable. One of these days I'm actually going to get out a sharp pair of scissors and do this too, but whatever, make them work. Simple enough. Trim off a little hackle. Next thing, you know, that's a little sloppy. A little more of the ice wing fiber, whatever, to cover the hook shank before I tie it down again. I'll keep that leg up there a little bit further. What are you doing? What do we got going on? There it is. You know, and I use a lot of times, like if I'm doing the purple body, I use like, I think I've got like, I don't know, some ice dub or something that's sparkly for it. Well, I tend to use a little sparkle on the dry fly stuff. That'll give you about enough product on the hook to get you up there. Boom, done. We just go in at that next pinch point, kind of where that head is. Same thing, just loose wraps. Now you're just kind of stapling it. But you can see there's plenty of room there to finish off the fly too and do the whip finish in front. Well, it's the, you know, proportions and giving yourself clean area to finish off flies are always important doing this. Clean this up out of there because that'll end up driving you crazy. Another chunk of Hi-Vis. I'll go a little long because I'm going to trim it the same length as that back wing, as far as they're going to end at roughly the same point, which actually has become quite challenging with how dull my scissors are lately, but whatever. There we go, and that keeps the wing secured longer, you know, by doubling it up there. I'll come in here. Hope my scissors trim even. There we go. Look at that. Perfect. That's good enough. Little shot of glue. And you can see I'm just kind of dabbing it like right there on that meeting spot. Doesn't take much. The gel control stuff is sweet. It really does a job for it without much product. I guess I'll tie my hackle in now. I kind of regretted not doing that first before I put the rubber legs in last time. So here we go. I don't know if you could see that, but I always trim so there's a little bit of those teeth on the end. You just trim a couple little pieces there, and you know, some hackle barbs off each side so it, well, there's our two. Well, I usually just have those rubber legs. I just trim off a chunk at a certain length and whatever. Just come in and pinch it off to the side there. And then so those looser thread wraps on that at first, just to get them, and then you can situate them how you want them and tie them in a little tighter if you want. I don't know. I usually work fine. There we go. Back to the ice wing. Oh, that should be our guy there. And you'll tie him off. And when I'm tying that hackle off, it's behind those rubber legs as well. I'll just go up to the eye, push that back a little. Come in, trim the hackle off. And then here I always do that little hand whip finish. You know, if you want, you can always do like a half hitch first and then get in and do the hand whip finish, or whatever, use your tool on it, you know, obviously. But I usually just have a tendency, I can get that slid right up over that eye. Whoop, that one didn't work. Knock that off. Trim them legs up a little bit, make them about even, close enough. There you go. That's close enough. So that's it. You know, basically a chubby, adding some hackle. I do kind of like that, you know, they call it the beaver tail cutoff, but it's whatever. A little different profile to it. It doesn't really matter as much in Michigan because I don't, you know, they, if they're out there biting, typically. So, but that you can skate better. You can see the hackle tips are just not quite as deep as that hook shank. So that, or the hook point. So the hook point should dump and those hackle tips should keep it up. If you've only got bigger hackle, you know, you could always trim it flat, whatever. Maybe you want it a little bigger so you can skate it better. If it tips on the side, who cares? Well, that's basically it. Here's some of the other colors I have them into. Like, there's the olive with the black, yellow and orange, whatever. That's got the gold body on it too. And then this is that bigger size. So this is that size 10. You can see it's a little bigger. No, not big, not giant. I got giant ones, but it seems like these ones are working better. A little bit smaller right now, but that's that size 10. Daiichi 2117. That's a pretty sweet hook. I tie a lot of dry heck stuff on it too, just because it's a very durable hook. And then the smaller sizes on the Tiemco 108. It just seems like what I run the most. So if you got any questions, comments, just shoot them to me. I got time to tie a little bit here and there, and these are pretty quick. So thanks for checking out the video.